Man, what a day. What a day. This is something a little bit different for you guys. I don't really have my entire setup with me here in the United Kingdom. I did not want to carry around a lot with me. I got my camera, I got my microphone, I got my headset, I got my laptop, and I have all of you guys here in the United Kingdom. I can't wait to meet you all on Saturday night, man. It should be fun. I'm excited to be here. I had a great day today. I walked around the city. I had some great coffee. I had some great cold beverages, adult cold beverages. Had some great food, even though some of you guys said to me that you don't know what cacio e pepe is. Had some great Italian food, man. I got on the plane last night around 7:30, and I sat on the plane waiting to take off for about an hour and 15 minutes. I was watching some YouTube videos, and I was trying to keep myself busy because I don't like to fly, and my nerves were, pretty much up there, anticipating takeoff and anticipating the long flight here to the UK. And all of a sudden, I get a phone call from my friend Keith, and he lives in Florida. Now, my friend Keith doesn't call me. He texts regularly. He's a big wrestling fan. He's a fan of the show. I've known him since first grade. He calls me, and he tells me, "Did you hear the news? Did you hear what happened?" I'm like, "Bro, what are you talking about? What happened? I'm getting ready to take off. I'm getting ready to go to the United Kingdom for All In. What happened?" He's like, "Did you hear what happened?" I'm like, "What the fuck happened? Please tell me what happened." He's like, "Bray's gone." "Bray's gone? What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know he's out. He's supposed to come back. They're getting ready to clear him." He's like, "No, Bray's dead." I didn't know what I was listening to on this phone call. As soon as he said those words, I was mortified. And I hung up with him because now at that point, I need to go and see what's happening on Twitter. And the first thing that I see is Triple H. Triple H tweets, and he tweets out that he's heard from Bray's father, Mike Rotunda, one of my favorites of all time, IRS. And he said that he heard from Mike Rotunda and that Windham has sadly passed on. I started seeing an outpouring of tweets from everybody. Everybody. And I was reading through them after that phone call from my friend for about a good 10 minutes. We still hadn't taken off yet. I sat there completely in a cold sweat, shocked. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to do anything in that moment. I just wanted to sit in silence. I finally picked up the phone and texted Jesse, and I knew he was on the plane already in the air before me. And I texted him, and he didn't know how to feel either. It was as if this force hit you so hard, you didn't know how to react. I literally sat on the plane with the Wi-Fi as we finally took off, and I was reading all these different stories about Bray Wyatt and reminiscing about Bray Wyatt. I just, in that moment, I couldn't believe what I was reading. I even said as much on social media. I didn't really know what I was reading at that point. I sat there and I reminisced, and I was thinking about how we just read reports that he was on his way back, how he was set to be cleared, how WWE had plans for him in September. They had plans for him. And then the weekend of the biggest wrestling show of all time, he's gone. In the same week, Terry Funk passed away. Back-to-back days, Funk and Wyatt gone. Some people were calling it the worst wrestling week maybe ever. I'm not going to sit here and dwell on the creative aspect of Bray Wyatt. You guys know where I fall into that category. You guys know that we've discussed it so many times. The creative for Bray Wyatt is a non-issue right now. If there was one guy that we wanted to see succeed in WWE, it was Bray Wyatt. There were so many people like me in the wrestling community who simply wanted to see him succeed because we've been through the years and years and years of terrible booking, of mishandling of his character, stop and start pushes, bringing him to a point and then breaking him down, his creativity reaching an all-time high, and then the powers that be take that because they can't let someone who has the creative genius like Windham take control and get ahead on his own. They need to take over everything that he's doing and mold it in the way that they want. It never really ended up the way that we all visualized as a fan base. Windham, in my honest opinion, one of the most untapped creative minds in the history of the business. I could just tell that from what he's done, the man just had a passion for telling a story, losing himself in what his vision was, and he wanted to leave a legacy. That's the only thing that mattered to him. Championships, 5-star matches, that shit never really meant anything to Windham, ever. I don't know why they didn't let him wrestle more, because the guy could clearly wrestle. But that was never really what he wanted to do. That's not really what he wanted to build his legacy off of. He wanted people to remember him by the way he came off on television, his mannerisms, his creativity, the characters, the out there just shit that you don't normally see on a pro wrestling show storyline. He wanted to suck you in. He wanted to leave you talking about what he's doing well after it had been over. Cryptic messages. He had fun stringing us along. He had fun knowing that he basically had the whole world in his hands. He had all of his fans basically eating out of the palm of his hands. That's the part I'm going to miss most. That's the part I'm going to miss. And that's the part that really is going to get overlooked in this, because at the end of the day, the creative part of Bray Wyatt was never really tapped into. They gave him a platform. They didn't really give him the ball to let him run to the end of the field. They didn't let him score. I'm actually still in shock after the news that broke. I don't really digest how Bray, 36 years old, gone, and Brody Lee, gone. So young, leaving behind children. Bray had 2 children with JoJo, and 2 children from a previous marriage. He had 4 children in total. We all know Brody Lee and what he left behind. Amanda has been such a vital part of AEW and has been supported so heavily by Tony Khan and the AW family, and -1 has got a job waiting for him if he wants to remain in the wrestling business when he turns 18. Gone at such a young age. They had their whole lives ahead of them. And at their age, it's amazing how much of an impact Bray Wyatt made at the age of 36. Look at the impact that Bray Wyatt made at the age of 36. You did not see or hear anything negative. You didn't hear one bad thing about what Windham did. In all the years he came up from developmental through NXT, finally setting himself with a proper gimmick with the Wyatt family. And then moving on to what he did with The Fiend and what we saw of him with the whole Uncle Howdy story and his brother Bo Dallas. You never heard one negative thing about Windham Rotunda. Only positivity. How many people that he walked into the locker room with, his glowing attitude, how he embraced everybody, how he gave back to everybody, how loved he was and how much love he gave back to everybody. I've never seen this much outpouring of love since Brody Lee. It's just crazy. It's crazy and it's creepy at the same time. That both are honestly, I can't get over it. How both are just gone. And how their paths are so similar. I asked people on social media what their favorite Bray Wyatt moment was. We could sit here and make a 1-hour video on Bray Wyatt's career, why it should have worked, why it didn't work, the whole creative aspect of it, what went wrong, what Vince did wrong, how The Fiend ended up being not exactly the way his fan base wanted it to be, the whole Alexa Bliss situation. We could make a whole entire video out of that. But Windham, with the Wyatt family, the original Wyatt family, Eric Rowan, Luke Harper, Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt, that's what really drew me to be a Bray Wyatt fan. That was one of my favorite gimmicks in all of NXT. And it transitioned so well to the main roster. And a lot of you guys, you know, you look at Windham and you see that Wyatt family, Bray Wyatt. I love the influence that he took from Waylon Mercy and Jake the Snake Roberts and everything that he did. Everything. He made it his own. He made that work. I love the way he cut a promo. I love the way he went in there and he worked stiff. Everything that he did, everything that he said, translated so beautifully on the main roster. A lot of people are going to reference The Shield versus the Wyatt family as their favorite moment. One of the best six-man tag team matches that WWE has ever produced. I remember when I watched Monday Night Raw, both teams standing on the apron. And on the go-home show to that specific pay-per-view in which they did wrestle each other, they didn't even say anything. They didn't touch. They just stood there. And the crowd was chanting, "Holy shit." Same thing happened at the pay-per-view. A lot of people are going to reference that as their favorite Bray Wyatt moment. I got two moments that are going to live with me for as long as I am doing this for you guys on this channel. One is the Daniel Bryan situation and Bryan chasing the World Championship and Bryan battling the machine and the corporation per se. Wyatt had enslaved and took control of Daniel Bryan, and Bryan in Providence, Rhode Island broke free of the Wyatt stranglehold, shed that jumpsuit inside a steel cage with Bray Wyatt, and basically had the whole crowd eating out of the palm of his hands. You know, you talk about goosebumps and a goosebump type moment. Daniel Bryan sitting on top of that steel cage, Daniel Bryan in the cage doing a yes chant, and basically everybody in that arena doing it in unison with him, in sync with Bryan as he was doing it, was one of the greatest moments that show has ever seen. The match that they had at the 2014 Royal Rumble. How many people told me Bray Wyatt can't wrestle? Bray Wyatt could wrestle. Now he's in there with Bryan, and Bryan is a world-class athlete, but, I mean, Bray Wyatt held his own. Bray Wyatt and Bryan may be the best thing that Bryan and Wyatt have done, you know, with each other. That. Bray Wyatt, you want to ask people and get their opinion on who's Bray Wyatt's greatest rival? It's probably Daniel Bryan. He had a great match with him at the 2014 Royal Rumble as Wyatt family Bray Wyatt, and he did the same thing as The Fiend in a strap match. And he gave Bryan a hell of a match then, with the fucking mask on. That's one of the greatest moments in Monday Night Raw history. Bray Wyatt gave Daniel Bryan one of the most memorable moments of his career. And vice versa. The storyline with Randy Orton and Luke Harper, where Bray Wyatt won the WWE Championship in the Elimination Chamber by beating John Cena and AJ Styles in that same Elimination Chamber, only to do the same thing the following week on SmackDown. A lot of people look at that as being Bray Wyatt's greatest moment. It's his first World Championship. Why would it not be? Did anybody ever think that Vince McMahon would give Bray Wyatt the WWE Championship? Nobody. They let him run with it. That storyline was on its way to being epic in its own right. And WWE dropped the ball on that. They never really let that storyline play out the way that it needed. And again, I say creepy that both Brody and Bray Wyatt aren't here anymore. Brody should have took that title from Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania. That's the way that storyline should have ended. It ended up being Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton at WrestleMania, and the creative did not do that storyline justice. Randy Orton ended up dropping the WWE Championship to Jinder Mahal, and Bray Wyatt was looked at as an afterthought, and that entire storyline just went goodbye. WWE fucked that one up. Big time. So much could have been done to make that one of the best things that SmackDown has ever seen, and they didn't do it. And that's just one of the many injustices with the creative that Bray Wyatt had to be straddled with on the main roster. Then we get Bray Wyatt doing The Fiend, and I know everybody loved The Fiend. I know a lot of people are going to reference that first entrance that we've seen from The Fiend at SummerSlam against Finn Balor. It was amazing. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's not. It was great. I actually preferred his return at Extreme Rules last year, more so than the Fiend debut. It was more of a genuine reaction. It was more of a, hey, this is Windham. Windham is back. That first promo that Windham cut on SmackDown following his epic return at Extreme Rules was the Windham that I wanted to see from this point on WWE television, because they humanized him. They gave him a microphone and he was just himself. It brought me back to the days of the Wyatt family and why we fell in love with Windham in the first place. Again, WWE started off hot with Bray Wyatt, and they didn't really do much of anything else. And that storyline with LA Knight made LA Knight more than it did Bray Wyatt. And again, it's eerie and creepy that we're all cheering for LA Knight, and the last person that was in the ring with Bray Wyatt was LA Knight. I'm still in shock over the entire thing. And again, you know, I could sit here and talk about Bray Wyatt's ups and downs in his career and what he was supposed to do coming back. And, you know, we talked about how it was not supposed to be Bobby Lashley, but it was supposed to be Bobby Lashley because Vince McMahon wanted it. WWE had a creative monster in Windham, and they didn't tap into that. And a lot of people, they were upset about the lack of story. They were upset about the lack of vision that we know Windham had that wasn't portrayed on television. A lot of people were upset at WWE for not allowing him to be who he needed to be. But at the end of the day, all of it is just TV. Windham leaves behind 4 children. Windham leaves behind his wife, JoJo. Windham leaves behind an entire locker room that loved this man dearly. Not one negative thing was said about this man in that locker room. Not one. Everybody's still in shock. Everybody is hoping that it's not real and that we'll wake up from this and ha ha ha, we're trolling you. It's all part of a storyline. It's not. This is real life, and Windham is now gone at 36 years old. Sean Ross Sapp reported that Windham had COVID complications. That was the reason why he was taken off television and was away from WWE since February. He missed WrestleMania, and he didn't really do much after that. And there were rumors of him coming back and him being better and him getting clearance and them having plans for him. And Sapp reported that the passing was due to a heart attack because of previous COVID complications. People are going to make that into a story in itself. Let them go out there and make a fool of themselves. The wrestling world lost one of the greatest minds that we've seen in recent memory. The wrestling world lost somebody that had the entire community fighting for him to be where he needed to be. The unwavering support that he had, I don't think Windham really fully grasped how many people were on his side. And I know he struggled with losing Brody, and I know he struggled with self-confidence and depression, and WWE more than likely making fun of his weight and driving him to lose that passion in the first place. But the amount of love that the man had, I mean, to see it all online in the last 48 hours it's sad, but it's beautiful at the same time. And all he ever wanted to do was leave a legacy, and I genuinely think he did leave behind a legacy, and I genuinely do think that people who want to get started in this business and become a character on television and do this thing that we all love called pro wrestling, I do think that Windham will be looked at as an influence moving forward by a lot of people who want to join and be a part of this industry that we all love. I do. He did leave behind an influence, and I hope he knows that. I feel for his family, I feel for the fans, I feel for the WWE who has to go out there and change their plans now for WWE SmackDown, where they changed plans and they made it tonight into a tribute show is what I last read. I won't be watching it because obviously I'm in a different time zone, but I will catch up with it at some point because I genuinely want to see how WWE honors Bray Wyatt, and he deserves every bit of it. On a weekend where we celebrate AEW having All In and the success of AEW, it comes with a price because we lost Windham. But I want you guys to know that everybody felt this very hard. Everybody. Family, friends, everybody in the industry, everybody felt this devastating blow by losing him this past week. And on a weekend where we're supposed to be celebrating, I want you guys to do me a favor. I want you to celebrate, but I also want you to think about your loved ones, and I want you to think how precious life is, because something like this, every time it happens, everybody says the same thing. You know, call up a loved one, tell them that you love them, check in on them frequently. You never know what the future holds. You never know what's going to happen. Life is so precious and fragile. Things can change in the snap of a finger. So go and do that. And this was yet another wake-up call for you guys to go and do that. But I want you guys to try and celebrate and put on a smile, because this is a weekend where everybody should come together. Moments like this should bring people together to celebrate the thing that we love, and that's pro wrestling. Because Windham would have wanted that too. I thank you guys for the support. I thank you guys for sticking with me. I know this is a little bit different. I don't have my usual setup. I mean, I had to travel overseas. I got my camera. I got my laptop. I'm going to try and get this up to you guys. Jesse and I are going to be doing All In and the post show at a beautiful podcast studio. Hopefully that comes off the way that it needs to. And whatever else happens this week, whether it's wrestling news, whether it's news or rumors going into All In, I'll have you guys covered some way or another, man, just like this, because even though I'm here, the work never stops. It never stops. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to meet you guys. I'm happy to celebrate with you as we venture to Wembley for All In. And I thank you guys for all of the love and support that you give me and this channel. I really do. I love you guys. And thoughts and prayers go out to Windham and his family. We lost someone at 36 years old, man, way too young, well before he ever hit his peak, well before he did anything that we know he was capable of. Like, we knew he could be great. We all wanted him to be at that level. And it's sad that we're not going to get to see him anymore. So thoughts and prayers go out to Windham. We love him. I love you guys, and I will keep you guys updated on everything that's happening here in the United Kingdom right here on Off the Script. Hopefully I see you guys at the meet and greet on Saturday night. Make sure you guys come out to All Bar 1 at Waterloo, and I will see those who are in the United Kingdom to celebrate All In weekend with me. Hopefully I'll see you there with Jesse celebrating Off the Script. Until then, guys, take care. I love you, and I will see you guys tomorrow at the meet and greet, and then Sunday at All In for AEW. I'll talk to you guys later.